Welcome to Next in Queue, the podcast for contact center and customer experience professionals. Next in Queue is brought to you by HappyTo, your service team's personal coach, giving them the process, resources, and insights to deliver the perfect customer experience over the phone. Learn more at HAPPITU.com. Now, here's your host, Rob Dwyer.
Hey, thanks everyone for joining another episode of Next in Queue. Today, joining me, Dave Derington. How are you, Dave?
I'm doing great, Rob. It's great to hang out with you and fun to be on your show. I'm usually running them, so I appreciate being on the other side.
Yeah, so you've got a couple of podcasts, so we'll talk about that, but you are really doing this thing.
I'm busy. Always busy.
You are a busy guy. But here's the thing. So let me just set the stage. Today, you're the director of customer education for ServiceRocket. We're going to talk about what that means. But in the late 90s, you were a chemist.
Oh, you're going way back.
Let's talk about how Dave became a chemist, and then how that evolved into something that was not really in a lab.
Yeah, I'll talk all about. I love this story, frankly. This is a great origin story. So, Rob, when I started to go to university, or I was planning to go to university, I went to Mizzou, University of Missouri Columbia, and then later University. Yeah. Hey, then we have University of Missouri St. Louis, which we always called the University of Majorly Slow Learners, me being one of them because I had a full-time job. So, hey, it's kind of inside joke. I think the thing I like to tell people about careers is this, especially when my daughter is 25 now. She lives in St. Louis, and she's looking at her career ahead of her and going, what should I do? Where should I start? What do I get involved in? And I go, you know what? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. You start somewhere based off of your interest and work with the world to find your path. And that's what I did. I go, I don't know what I want to do in the future, but I want to do something hard because my brain don't slow down. It goes. And if I don't have interesting things to throw at it to eat, then it gets me in trouble. So what does that mean? I play too many video games or whatever. I chose physics originally. So when I was looking to go to university, I said, okay, I want to study physics. And I did. And I did that. I became a physics major. I started getting in all the classes. I started doing all the math. And I go, this is not for me. I loved it conceptually, like quantum mechanics, coolest thing in the world. But when you sit down and you start to actually, you're doing the work that you would do in your job. Especially like I wanted to be an astrophysicist at one point. And I couldn't do the math. The math just didn't come to me. The concepts came to me. So I became a chemist, right? I had 3 years of physics and all. I understood all the stuff. Went in, wrapped up the rest of my chemistry degree, graduated with a degree in chemistry and minors in math and physics. Now what? Well, I parlayed that into a job in the laboratory. I became an analytical chemist. And analytical chemistry is kind of fun. I wouldn't say it's entirely hard. And I would tell people that the work that chemists do every day that is stuff you don't know about, and it's what makes the world run. Why? Well, imagine where I was at. I was at a pharmaceutical plant in St. Louis, Mountain Crop Pharmaceuticals at the time. I was working in stability. And stability chemistry is all about not just in the moment. Okay, QA, you heard QA testing? You're software.
I have, sure.
So let's think about software QA testing. We're making a product and we're running software through testing, and sometimes it's automated. You've got Jenkins, you've got all these different systems. Well, in chemistry, you have real world stuff. You've got nasty chemicals and acids and bases and all the things. So you have to do that kind of work in the laboratory with your hands, getting dirty. And what QA testing in the lab is, did I make this drug or chemical, and does it meet spec? Yes or no? Easy. That's one point in time. But what got me really curious about the world was that we weren't worried about just the one point in time. We were worried about 5 years of a lifetime of a pharmaceutical spent in different conditions. Like, here's high heat, high humidity. Here's normal room temperature. Here's high humidity, low temperature. And then we take all that data and put it all together. And you know what? I mean, I know if I have a bottle here around, but if you look at any drug bottle and you look at that expiration date, that's the work I did. We made those expiration dates. We calculated why is that a valid expiration date? Well, because things change and things decompose, and sometimes you get nasty things you don't want and could kill you. So the life and soul of a chemist is all about how we use these things for the betterment of the world. You're making a product. You're doing something. It's all science. But, Rob, this is where I'll seg and say that my passion was ignited not by the chemistry. My passion, my excitement for what I'm doing today, 20 some years later, came out of this curiosity and helping people understand how to do things with the computer systems that were in the lab that were helping us analyze and report on our findings. And I liked that more than I liked working in the lab. It has high points, except when glass exploded and hit you in the back, or you get acid on your shirt. That
doesn't sound great.
Or you have an adverse reaction to a chemical that you're trying to test. So all those things, all the good things are, hey, Rob, I can teach you how to use this system better. And you're like, oh, well, what happened? I became the computer geek, the nerd in the lab who knew how to make the computers do what you needed it to do. And that's the origin story for me that got me to where I am today, which has been the circuitous path through software, web design, teaching game design, and we had you and your partner have commonalities in places that I've been. So this is a really interesting story. So I'm glad to be able to share it.
Yeah, that is fascinating. And lesson number one.
Lesson number one.
Those expiration dates on your prescriptions are important. So pay attention. That's lesson number one from today. Lesson number two, don't do chemistry with your bare hands. That's dangerous.
Human
kids.
hands are better. Bare hands are just hard to hold on to glassware.
Ooh, the dad jokes are coming out.
Bam.
Dad. That's where we're going, folks.
Yeah, we're going there early.
So I want to talk about after you left Mallinckrodt.
Mm-hmm.
You held a title called Customer Support Scientist?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about this.
I still have the lab coat. The first job I had getting out of the laboratory was one, and now let me set the stage for this. In the laboratory, in that environment, I became a manager over these technical computer systems. So you'll hear terms like a laboratory information management system. The heck is that? It's like a LMS or a CRM or something. It's just for lab data. Nothing special about it. But I also was involved in all these plant implementations for really crazy systems. And I started to get to this point where I'm thinking about chemistry from computers from all these different angles. And I had gone to a conference. It's called the Pittsburgh Conference. Happened every year. It's a big deal for chemists and big nerd fest for chemists. Excuse to go drinking. Didn't need that as a chemist, but I had run across this company called Tripos, St. Louis-based company. They're now called Certara, and not quite what they used to be, but they're still there. And the company was bizarre. It was so cool. It is something that spun out of Washington University, and I can't remember the name of the individual that started. It was way back, and they were trying to do basically CAD, computer-assisted design, for chemistry. And they were trying to use the Silicon Graphics workstations, this big old machines. They would render all the movies back in the day. So I'm excited about this place. Now it's chemistry, it's computers, it's cool computers, and it's customer support. Okay, so tell me more. Well, I that was the way that I could get into the company. I knew I wasn't going to be like the developer, and I knew I wasn't going to be that chief scientist that was using all the stuff. So I found my entree into the support team where they go, yeah, you're a customer support scientist. I'm like, what in the heck is that? Well, you're customer support, but the kind of problems you were solving were, well, part of it was training, part of it was just listening, part of it was therapy. I remember some of these scientists would call in and go, oh, I'm having a problem with this blah, blah, blah ligand and doing blah, blah, blah and docking. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So my job became taking these, I wish I had a picture of it, like massive proteins and structures in your human body. Like, let's talk estrogen, right? It's a hormone, very big chemical. It's a very big protein. It's massive. And you can't see it with the naked eye, but what we're trying to do and what's happening in chemistry today is that we've gotten a whole lot smarter. We're not just finding something and say, here, take this, and it might kill you. Okay, well, we're trying to get away from that. We're trying to find drugs that do specific things in your body. And what they should be doing is activate a receptor site. A receptor site are basically like mailboxes in your body or something. Like, oh, I got this, and now it triggers you to do something. And it triggers the body to do something. So a lot of the times, let's talk estrogen. 17-beta estradiol is the active compound that's in every human being's body, not just females. And it docks with a receptor site. And it makes your body create all these other proteins and other chemicals. And it makes you a man or a woman, or it makes you get cancer, or like all these different things. It's amazing what the human body can do. And my job was to help people understand how to use the system itself, use these software, and then solve massively computational problems by, and this is what's cool, I like, you would do these things, and they call it HQSAR, which was like hyperdimensional qualitative structural activity relationship modeling. Basically, you can't think about how things dock in your human brain. It's looking at all kinds of aspects and taking a molecule and like, I'll fit it here, I'll fit it here, I'll fit it here, and doing all the calculations, and then taking many different kinds of variations in those molecules and fitting in that same site and trying to calculate the activity. Will this molecule block another chemical that's causing you to have a problem? Will it enhance your body's ability to do something, which is good? So you're modeling drugs in silico, in a computer, and then we were taking that back to the lab to test it out. Freaking fascinating. Just absolutely fascinating kind of work. I miss it. So that's what that role was, helping people to understand. I was the first person there to support Linux. So I was the first person to have Sybil, which is their main product, on a laptop, on an airplane, rotating the molecules. And people were like, oh, that's so cool. Because I was a Linux nerd too. And seeing they're working with all this really crazy technology it just blew my mind, Rob. It was just so much fun.
Dave, that sounds like just the most incredible role. Just the most incredible role.
It was fun,
and
I have to say.
I imagine you learned a lot. So tell me about War Factory.
Oh, you're going way back. What do you want to know about War Factory?
Tell us, right, what the genesis of that was and kind of what you were doing with War Factory.
All right. Well, let me ask you a question first. So, Rob, I want to know a little bit more about your audience. What are the folks in your audience looking to learn?
My podcast is all about people in and around customer experience and the contact center space. But customer experience goes, it covers a lot of different things. So it's pretty wide ranging.
Okay. Now, so I'm seeing some threads here, and I want to just try to pull them through. For example, at TriPost, that customer experience, and even going back to jobs I've had before, the story I can help tell your audience is one of software as a service, one of this transition from, the first job I had, that job as an analytical chemist. And then when I was doing the computer systems, client server, baby. We were transitioning from old fax machines, and we were seeing this, like, I'm the customer, I'm using the software. It's god awful. So I would say that a lot of my career has been about how to help people with that experience. How do you use this software? Now I'm doing training. Well, let's talk about War Factory and how that fit into that. So that was an all experiential thing, right? When you think about call centers, you think about customer experience, the experience of a person when you're doing anything that's engaging and invested in the customer's experience, you got to think a lot about it. And what I really relish in the experiences that I've had in my career, like I said before, I don't rest. I don't sleep a lot. I like go go go. War Factory was one of those things that, let's put it in context. I was going through a divorce. I was changing my careers. I started getting involved in this group called War Factory back in late 90s, 99, 98, when a friend of mine was like, hey, you got free time now. Why don't you come with us and go to these little events where we're going to all hook up our computers to a network and we're going to play Counter-Strike and Unreal Tournament until 5 in the morning. I'm like, sold! Sold! Well, what better use of my time to stay up all night and play video games? It did several things for me too, because I met a whole lot of friends. We didn't drink or anything because we're playing video games. We stayed out of, otherwise, you're going to go to the bars, you're going to whatever. No, didn't do any of that. And we learned so much about networking and people and how to run events. So War Factory was all about, the genesis of that came to the forefront when I was at, where was I? I was invited to this LAN party. And again, this is where people bring their computers together, network, and they all play. And this was kind of a 90s and early 2000s phenomenon because internet sucked, right? You'd get together to have that really high speed. What we were trying to do is get more and more people together, get more and more funding, so sponsorship for the events, and be able to get to the point where we're having a whole weekend events. We're just having a good old time. And that's exactly what we did. The first event I went to was, oh gosh, I think it was run by another group. I think they were called MFA, and those people have gone off to be successful in another world. They're like engineers and such. And we got our stuff together. Somebody gave me like these network switches and a box of networking cables and said, "Have fun." They had $300 they made from the last event, and they go. And we built a team together that took that from basically nothing. And where we were at, we were in the Knights of Columbus Hall in St. Charles, Missouri, and it smelled like fish fry because it's what they did there. And they had made a special deal. The people that had held these LAN parties had helped upgrade the electrical system. So this place was incredible. We had 100 people in there every time. We scaled that up to thousands of people. By 2011, we were running the Video Game Hall of Fame, International Video Game Hall of Fame. Nolan Bushnell showed up. This was like really cool stuff in Iowa of all places, just a little corner of Iowa. And we were running events for the first ever World of Warcraft tournament, the Pro Series back. It was around that time where we came in and we set up computer systems. We built the network, we imaged the drives, and we executed on the event at a high scale. And these are the first streaming events too. So we were there doing this kind of work and learning about the space of, consulting and contracting and helping execute events with a really amazing customer experience, but with the penalty of having to run all this technology, right? You normally go to an event and it's no big deal. Like, oh, there's people there. They might have a check-in system. Well, we had to do all of that. And this was a battlefield, like a learning ground, to understand so many things about how to craft an experience for people around games that Blizzard, they're no joke, right? NVIDIA was a massive sponsor. Well, I was on video cards. We did it. And the team made just spectacular events. We did really cool things. This is just a hobby, right? But we used that to learn so much more. The people who were on my team, I'm not going to list off the names, but they were networking folks that worked at BJC, and they were folks that worked in. One guy was he had gone around. He did all the maintenance on the machines, the IT work on the ATM machines all around the area. Like, these folks knew their stuff, and we got together. It was magic, and we got to learn other things together. So it was so much fun. I miss those days too.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. One of the things that I was curious about, and this is the reason that I asked you that question, is I know that you've also spent some time as an adjunct professor at a couple of different universities. talking about gamification, and now you're in this space called customer education. And I know that gamification is a passion of yours, and probably something that you try to work into customer education.
I'm trying to find a book here. Maybe I don't have it with me, but absolutely. I was thinking of Jane McGonigal's Reality is Broken book. So let me tell you a story here about customer education, how it taps into your world. Because I think there's a tie that binds. So back, I can't remember the year. It was mid late 2010. Oh no, I was there for what, almost 8 years. Anyway, long story short, there was a friend of mine who I'd met, and I was working at a place called Avatar Studios, and she was a contractor there, and we went to lunch one day, and she said, "Oh, well, I teach at Webster. It's such a great thing." And you know what? Our conversation today, you're telling me all about War Factory and all about games, and at that point, I was a multimedia project manager helping design, videos for Anheuser-Busch and other stuff. And she goes, "You know what? I'm going to put you in contact with this person at Webster University who is looking for someone to teach video game class." Like, oh, that would be cool, because I was kind of ramping down with some of the War Factory stuff, and I was looking for another opportunity to learn and grow. And so I started looking at, well, how do I do this course? There was a template. It was terrible. And at the time, I'm like, okay, what do I want to learn? What do I want other people to learn about video games? Video game design is all experience, right? There's so much to learn. And the cool thing I've always found about video games, the thing I love, is not only does it suck your mind in, but and this is where the War Factory thread and the entire gaming thread in my career pulls through to today, is that what video games and games in general do for us is help us define the experience we want to have and iterate upon it. So one of the things that I really love to do is that design process. Like, what outcome are you trying to achieve? What do you want the gamer to do? How is it going to make them feel? It's all so, like, I think everybody that's in our fields should study that. Like, what are the guts behind making a video game? Video games are so hard because they take what? Audio, video, computer programming, marketing, like every kind of thing. You have everything all in one. It's a microcosm for learning business that you wouldn't believe. That's where I got my start. And gamification, I'm going to say honestly, I don't like that word that much, because I feel it's a trivialization of what you're really trying to do, which is motivation. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's think about the experience that any customer has using a product. The end user. Today, and now I'm coming up to current, and this is the battle I'm fighting every day of my life. Customer education is a part of success, experience, everything. And the job is, okay, Rob, have you ever had somebody say to you, ideally like an executive, "Our product is so easy, you don't need training." Right?
Yes, I've heard that before.
That's been said to me directly when I came to somebody talking about selling my services. And I go, "Oh, really? Okay." So explain to me, my friend, why you have massive churn in your company, why you're losing customers. It's a subscription economy today, right? We make money off. Here's the thing that I like to bring up. Have you ever heard of the term CAC LTV ratio?
You better
Yep.
go ahead and let's talk about it.
Sounds like a crazy thing. Okay. Let's think about customer experience from the beginning. Your customers need to be able to use your platform, your technology. They need to, and they need to have some joy, right? Okay, let's put it in context. I'm going to talk about two different kinds of education. The kind of education that nobody wants but we have to have, and is really important, and I will not deprecate it at all, is that internal company training, the corporate training, security awareness training, sexual harassment training. Okay, you can have a robot just going through it, droning on and You can make sure that you limit the video so nobody can ever stop or check out, and you have to watch the whole 2-hour thing before you can move on. And then you forgot what the questions are. It's a god-awful experience, right? But it has to be done. I'm not constrained by that. The world I live in is, you know what, Rob? I could give you my app and say, here, use this app, whatever. And you're like, okay, cool. Or I'm your boss. I'm like, Rob, hey, we got this new thing, and you have to put all your time in it and all the notes and all the things that you do on a daily basis. You're like, really? Another thing? But yeah, it's great. It's going to tell us all this. You're like, whatever. Okay. So you go look at it. What's that experience that you have? Probably like, okay, this looks like 10 other time tracking apps I've used. And like, oh, well, that's weird. And well, I don't understand. Oh, I'm stuck. I give up. Forget it. I'm just going to give you a spreadsheet. And then you get into a fight, right? Well, the problem with that is, one, we really can't force you to use some applications. I can't. Even at an executive or company level, you might get some new, time tracking tool or whatever. I'm just making stuff up. And then it's an internal battle to get you to use it. It's not like HR. Like HR can say, if you don't do the security awareness training, you're going to lose your job. So you wait till the last day, you stay up till midnight, you look through the video, you talk to your friend Jim who did it and said, what are all the answers? You pick at them. There's no learning happens at all. And then experience is god awful and everybody hates it. So what we're at the confluence now with customer education is pivoting the learning experience and putting it back in the hands of you. So you go, Rob says, okay, well, yeah, I got to do this training. Okay. Google's complaining to me now. if you got to do this training, okay, but it's on your time. And the thing that I'm trying to do for you, Rob, with my training is not mandating that you're going to do this. I don't care. My goal is to make that experience fun, engaging, and not time consuming, and meets you where you are in the moment of need. So those 4 things, very different from how everybody else in the world does training. Most of it's, okay, you get a subject matter expert. What does a subject matter expert do for training? I'm going to get on the stage and I'm going to talk for 4 hours on this thing. And everybody's like, and you learn nothing, right? Or you get a trainer who doesn't know anything, they're going off a script, and then everybody's like, huh? Because it's none of the old ways of teaching people work. Your experience is one of direct engagement with the product, right? Mm-hmm. So what I want you to do is I want that executive to actually be right and say, our product is so easy that anybody can use it, and you don't have to do a bunch of training. But if you do, it's all built in. It's all right there. Or if you want to go deeper, guess what? So now here's my path. I like the little Pendo type stuff, or the WalkMe's, or the app cues, where you're embedding in the app some of the most important things that will get you stuck. That's the experience, the user experience, the customer experience of the platform goes, oh, I don't know where. There's a pop-up that came up. Oh, that's my answer. Boom, done, checked out. Or I'm having a hard time. Click here for help. Oh, there's a link right at the top of the page. I click that and it takes me to the university. And now are these little videos. But right at the top, there's one video. And I say on there, customer, if you watch this one video, you'll know 90% of everything or 80% of everything that you need to do. It's 3 minutes. Hell yeah, I'm going to watch that. 3 minutes, sold. And I get that and I go, no, wait. There was a what's in it for me there said. Oh, you mean I'm a salesperson, let's play. If I use this process in this app, I can see my sales increase by 50% or 100%. Tell me more. And then I'm pulling that education when I want that education. I'm not being forced. Or if I'm onboarding for the first time, it's given to me and I'm told it's there. And I go, cool, I'll come back. And I come back and then I do it. I get a badge. This is the gamification. So what I'm trying to do is put little dopamine hits out there for you and take you through a journey. And like you get a microdose, right, in app. You go to a university or you watch a video, or it's on YouTube, even better. When I search for stuff for any kind of technology, first place I go, freaking YouTube. Why? They got everything there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's good. And the people that make those YouTube videos are better than any, and this is the term in my industry. It's almost better than instructional designers. Not really, because they know and have been trained to do things to elicit good educational outcomes. But what a YouTube person knows inherently, because they had to learn it the hard way, is how to get your attention and how to get you what you want, which mostly is entertainment. But a lot of times now it's, how do I hook up this Nest, whatever control in my wall, and my wall outlet doesn't look like the one that came with the guide. So now I'm sitting there on YouTube looking through all this crap. I mean, that's what I do. And that's how I tap into the experience set.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to me. I think you touched on a few things. So number one, I think YouTube has fundamentally changed the way we look at education, right? It's almost like the library that you used to have to go to. Yeah. And you would find that the how-to book, right? I need to know how to do this. And then I go to the library, I find the how-to book. But now I can instantly go to YouTube. And instead of having to read a whole book, I've got a video. You're showing me exactly what I want to see. Some of the really good ones will actually have the timestamps on them and kind of exactly what's happening in this particular moment. So when you're like, yeah, I know all this part, right? I just need to get to, it's 5 minutes and 32 seconds in. That's where I need to fast forward to. I think that has that on-demand ability to get education when I need it on whatever it is that I need, because it really is out there for just about everything.
It is.
Has changed our expectations as well. So that our expectation is I should be able to have that for whatever it is that I'm using, that maybe I am not a power user yet, or it's brand new, or I just, I need to know how I can get Adobe to, put a waveform in for my audio in what I'm showing.
Yeah.
And you can just do that with YouTube.
Easily.
The other thing that, as I was listening and I was just kind of reflecting on my own video game past, I'm gonna date myself here.
All right, do it.
Is just our desire to learn and that education. I mean, I remember playing Legend of Zelda on the NES, and you had to get the book, right? Then it was a book, but the book had all the maps. It had all the most of the tricks in it, right? And if you wanted to complete that game without going through every hurdle by yourself with no direction whatsoever, I mean, you could do that. But the crazy kids did that. The rest of us got the book. And so we would play, but then when we ran into that brick wall and we couldn't figure out, I don't know how to get the better sword or whatever the case may be, you would go to the book and you would find that particular piece so that you could get past that. And then you would move on and you would continue to explore by yourself.
That's right.
And I think that is what people want today in customer education. Yeah, I'll find stuff myself. But when I hit that roadblock and I'm not sure what to do, that's when I want that help, and I want it like that.
Absolutely right. And that's, what's sad, Rob? That is exactly what you want, and that's what everybody wants. But, and I'm going to call out, I've got to call out leadership, executive leadership for this, because this isn't, and I'm not blaming, I'm just showing what the situation is. That, what you just described, is the customer experience. I'm stuck. Right? I want you to hold my hand. I wish I could put this up on the screen. I don't have it handy, but do you know Crossing the Chasm? Let me see if we got the book.
I am not familiar with that one.
Oh, this is a good one. I'm trying to... Yeah, here it is. Jeffrey Moore. This book. And in fact, this thing here, this curve, is one of the most important things. And I love what Jeffrey has said. This is such a timely book and such a help for reframing all of the problems that we have in a different way of thinking. Because this is a journey of your software product, any product. It could be an app, it could be a platform, over time. Where in these curves here, what they mean, and I'll put it up a little closer. I wish I could find what page of the book it was on here. Okay, what's really neat here? Oh, that's cool. So there's segments. You see how this isn't a smooth Gaussian distribution?
Yeah.
There's a chunk, there's a big chunk, and there's a chunk, and there's a chunk. These things are the experience issues that we have. Right now, let's say you made a new app, Rob, and that app, you were just trying to get launched. The people using that app would be right here. Most of the time, they're like me, super nerds, who go, dude, I know you, and I'm going to use this thing, and it solves the problem. But you know what? You have documentations that are crappy. You don't have you have nothing. And I figured out. Okay, cool. Well, that lasts for a while. And as you're starting out, you don't think about education because people are figuring it out on their own. Those are the people. The next one is the people that are a little bit more are also like that. They're like, oh, I can kind of figure it out, but I need a little bit more help. So that's where you start getting documentation and things. But then what happens here is exciting and fascinating. And it's where everything breaks. This is where you go from people who are going to help themselves to people that want you to help them. Increasingly so as you get to the late majority, and the really late majority of the people that said, oh, that computer thing, that's a fad, it's going to go. Well, okay, you're screwed. You know, his grandma doesn't know how to use her iPhone. So that's what we're up against with everything in the world today. When you were talking about Zelda, let's reframe this discussion. The experience then was different because you could buy the book. The game is static. It's never changing. You can't get a patch on a cartridge. Well, not easily.
That's true.
You can flash it, but most people don't have that experience. So this is the world we're living in today. Everything is moving. Nothing is stopping. The code base is changing every week, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, every month. You're in development, right? I mean, you're working with you see the changes in software. It's like nothing lasts. The entire world is evolving around us. So that's why things like YouTube are so ungodly critical. And this is why our leadership that's in every company needs to not say, my product is so easy, and go, you know what? I want to also, as part of the product, offer you these skills on how to use it. And that's what customer education is. It's like, you can do this at any time, but you know, here I am, Dave, and I made this super app, the best app in the world. And I go, well, okay, Rob, for you to get the best experience out of super app, you need to know how to be a super cool person. And that skill requires you to know X, Y, and Z. Well, here's a little video that you can watch, and it's on YouTube. Oh, wow, everybody found that. It's a top video. And I curated it, maybe put it on a page. Maybe I put it in my LMS, but I want to make that friction. I want people to find things organically, but I still need to I need to update that video all the time. Mm-hmm. And this is where the conversations are changing, and people's minds in customer education are thinking differently. I do 2 blogs, or 2 podcasts. Why? Well, there's other questions out there that people have about software that don't get answered by traditional education. It's a, what the heck is this thing anyway kind of question. You know, you could have somebody do a webinar or whatever. Webinars stink. They're boring. Nobody cares. You just sign up for them and watch them later on 2x speed, right? And that's why all the marketing teams are like, well, movie came in. Well, it's because you're boring. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. I'm sorry, that's brutal, right? But what people do care about is if you say, Dave, I'm going to show you what my super app does. I'm like, cool. You got a quick video? Oh, I'm going to do a product demo. I'm like, oh, there's now an hour out of my time. Do you have a video? Is it 3 minutes long? Does it get to the what's in it for me? Does it get to the value prop right away? Now I'm interested. Mm-hmm. Now I want to get on the phone with you, Rob, and have a discussion. But we can't do that forever because that doesn't scale. In an early company, you and I could have that discussion because you got, 20 customers? What happens when you have 2,000? What happens when you have 20,000? What happens when you have, like, unicorn companies that I went to work for since? Like, I'm seeing 30, 100,000 people looking at my content, and yet I have old school mentality from people that are, like, in the same company saying, oh no, we need to do live training, and no, the hell we don't. Sorry. We do not. Yeah. We need to scale the experience that the customers have and be there when they need us, like a good friend. And that's why I love YouTube. And it's like TechSmith is one of my favorite products right now. And if you follow the TechSmith folks, Matt Pierce and Andy Owen, Wendy Hamilton's the CEO. They've got such a wonderful product. I mean, Snagit and Camtasia, they're just so easy to use. But those things are reframing education for all of us and helping us get a much better experience for our customers because they're getting the content they need when they need it in a form they like and they want to consume, right?
Yeah. I can't believe you just mentioned TechSmith because I was literally just watching one of their videos earlier today. A live video about making video.
Yeah, definitely subscribe to the YouTube channel that Matt runs. I actually was on it not too long ago, just with a bunch of people. We were talking, but those kind of products are what unlock our success in the future. Anybody can make a video with TechSmith. So I still do it, even though I have a team that's doing stuff. I'll go do a podcast and I'll edit a video and I'll put it online, and it's just easy. Those are the tools we need in a modern era.
So one of the things that you mentioned, and I think this is important, and I think it's I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on the best way to overcome this challenge, but that is that the way we develop products, software products, has changed for the most part. It hasn't changed for everyone. It hasn't changed in every industry, but it has changed for a lot of companies, right? So you talked about, right, Zelda, the code doesn't change because it's in a cartridge.
Yeah. But
most SaaS products today are in an agile deployment. They literally may be changing every week, every 2 weeks. Adding new features, taking features away, changing how I interact with things. And so I'm curious, like, what is the best strategy to go about ensuring that your customer education is staying up to date with your development and the new features that you're rolling out?
Well, I hate to make it sound like it's easier than you'd think, but it kind of is. Yet most of us don't think about that. And here's why. When I go in and build a program for the first time, all I'm focusing on is getting that program built for the first time. And mostly why I did that is because, okay, let me reframe this whole conversation about agile. Okay? Let's think waterfall first. Before agile became waterfall, this step-by-step process that we use to develop everything from products to software to whatever. It just makes sense. That's how we think as human beings. You do this, then you do this, and you do this. Okay, cool. Takes forever, right? And that's where we were with education for a long, long time. You go, okay, Rob, I want you to teach how my app works to this audience of 10 people. Okay, cool. We have conversations. I talk with your subject matter experts. And there's like this chronological, okay, that's going to take me this. Oh, I got to be perfect because we always have to be perfect. So I'm going to make shiny stuff and do all this crazy thing in the video to make it look good and feel good. And then I'm going to go back to you and say, does it look good? Yeah. But you know what? If you were to do that for a modern software company, let's just say our development cadence is quarterly. Every quarter we make updates. This is reasonable. Every quarter, product team starts the clock. We're going to implement 10 new features. 2 of them are going to be big, some are fixes, etc. What is your felt experience of that when a product that you use today doesn't update the training or the documentations even, and it's a month out, a year out, and now you're looking at a screen, it doesn't look like what you had, right? Have you had that experience before?
I have.
Okay. Why does that happen? Well, it's because we're not developing in an agile mindset. We're not thinking that the world is changing, and we don't plan for it. So we develop, and this is not anybody's fault. Rob, if I ask you to deliver a course, you know, one of the most damaging, heinous phrases that I hear from leaders who are talking about training and instructional design being content that's used for learning outcomes, is, oh, you're replaceable. I could get another trainer or another instructional designer to do this thing. The hell you can. It's not true. We deprecate the significance of the role of developing content because we have learned through our schooling system how to deliver content. Rob, make a PowerPoint. All right, got it. You're off. You can do this. And all of us can do this. We make a PowerPoint. What do we do with that PowerPoint? Well, I think this is most important. I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to start here. I'm going to go to the end of time. 2 years later, we're done. Okay? I mean, those are the worst kinds of trainings, but they're kind of fun. That's how we always start. So the problem there is we have to flip the script on what's training and think about the outcomes first. We have to think about, well, Rob, what do you want me to teach? And you're like, well, I want this, this, and this. And I'm like, okay, how do we do that most expeditiously? How do we actually just laser focus in on those things and cut all this chatter around, well, you have to understand the history of the product. Nobody cares. We're right here now. We're using it today. I need to get something done. So that's the big thing. You are not replaceable as an instructional designer or a trainer. You have a unique perspective on thinking about how to communicate and experience. And a lot of times we're now calling our, what used to be instructional designers, learning experience designers. The language is changing. It's about how I can get that quickly. Now, to develop content quickly, this is where you have to think about future-proofing. What I do is I build a narrative, a script. This is basically a 2-column sheet. Is talk about this, show this. Talk about this, do this. Talk about this, there's a quiz. I'm walking through just the thing. Does that meet my learning objectives? Yes or no? How do I make sure that I retain this? It's got to be fun. It's got to be short. There's got to be a quiz or something like that. These are table stakes. But if you were to do it, and I'm just picking at you. I'm presuming you're not a trainer. I'm presuming you're not an instructional designer, but you're asked to give a training. Somebody's going to get you on the stage and you're going to go off and you're going to do a great job, but it doesn't help. So agile development, like one of the most extreme things that I've seen and the most fun things is a product called Videate. Videate.io is the site. A friend of mine, Mark Hellinger, works there, and he and I have spent a lot of time together. That product is absolutely flipping amazing because it literally take that script. Hi, I'm Dave, and this is what I'm reading. There's a command that I can click into the interface that I'm using, and it has the computer develop a video on the fly, narrate with things like well-said labs or voices that get constructed on the fly. This is all AI machine learning. And it will develop a video based off of me doing something. I go back to that script, and I could change that script. 5 minutes later, I have a new version. Oh, something else changed? No problem. Change it. Got the video up, put it updated, and now my content is updated all the time. Wow. These are new technologies coming out that can do this. Like right now, I'm using otter.ai to transcribe live, and I can watch the words we're saying actually happen. I'm like, this is the technology is there, but we don't really grok yet how to assemble them. So my methodology is like take quick loops, agile loops. And as I'm developing for the first time, I do very short sprints, a couple weeks. Build the training, you see it. Is it good? Yep. Do it again. Great. Is it good enough? Good. Get it online. Now iterate. Every year I have a maintenance cycle. So I go back to that piece I made, change this, put it back up. Good. Keep doing that. So the amount of time is low, but I'm getting maximum value because the application is always up to date with the latest and greatest education. But that's not how that's not how we're designed to think. That's bringing in, let's think about another context. If you really wanted to go out there rogue, you would have, let's say I had one person that could do training and instructional design. How I would speed up a process to say, hey, one person, why don't you just run every 6 weeks this class and you'll do the training for it? Okay, cool. This is a really good early playbook. I'm in a 50-person, 100-person, 150-person company. You don't have much money. You can hire one person. What are you going to do? So, and this was me. And I go, cool, I'm going to do this every 6 weeks. I'm going to have all these other classes that I'm going to do, and I'm going to be building them as I go. And every time I do it, Rob, you pick on me in the next class, and you go, Dave, you're missing X, Y. Oh, I am. Okay, thank you, Rob. Put it back in there. Next 6 weeks, I already have updated my script right after I give the training class, and I do it again. But then I take that video and I put it online in an academy. So you might be getting the benefit of me teaching you live, but everybody else can watch it on our academy. And I just loop through it again. So these are alternate approaches that, frankly, most instructional designers don't even, they don't grok, because that's not how how they developed and learned. But now they're starting to put into their toolkit. Now I have something called the Customer Education Manifesto that Adam Avramescu is my co-host, and other partners in the industry have all put together. So it's at customer.education. I can open that up here real quick and just show your folks. We're running out of time.
Yeah, we'll make sure that the link is in the liner notes as well, so people can go check it out.
This is one of my podcasts, and this podcast is, again, devoted to all the things that I'm talking about here. And the manifesto, top of the page, this is basically, I started this, the idea I had was coming from the Agile manifesto. It's the same kind of thing. Focus on value, focus on content that scales. Why? Well, you know what? You could have a trainer to do all your training. That's a human being, and other human beings, it doesn't scale. I can reach 100, 1,000, 20,000 people with an on-demand video. Then we get nerded out. We talk about data and outcomes first. So if you say, build this class, I'm like, what do you want me to measure? What do you mean? How many people showed up to class? I don't care about that. How did this move the needle for my organization? How did this sell more product? How did this keep somebody from churning? We can calculate all that now. It's unbelievably cool what you can do to build these programs, to actually connect and engage with that customer experience and their life cycle and their journey in learning their product. And then these are all the things I said. We're agile. We have design experiences that people want, and we help in the moment of need. So that's at customer.education. You can look it up there. So that's my mantra, and that's my guiding star now. Everything I do now is based around how to do it faster, better, fun, when you need it. And it's not, go to my classroom and sit in the chair and I might show up late and be your teacher in university. I still like it. That's still fun, but it's a different world. We're teaching skills and getting people to get their job done fast. We're not educating the same way at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Dave, look, this has been so exciting. I know that there are a ton of takeaways for everyone that stuck with us through this whole journey. But I am also glad that we got to start at, well, I'm not glad that we started at Mizzou, because, Rock, Chalk, Jayhawk, but look, we started with chemistry, so that was fun.
Yeah, we're rivals, aren't we?
Yeah, we are, but that's okay. I get a lot of rivals on the show, and that's fine. We trade off seasons. The Mizzou people can have football season. I have basketball seasons. Fine. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. I really do appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Rob. It's fun to connect with my St. Louis friends and alum, and say hi to everybody in the area that I used to know. And have anybody feel free to reach out to me. You can find me at customer.education. I'm on LinkedIn all the time. So reach me on LinkedIn. It's Dave Derington.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Rob. Take care.